welcome back to the channel. It is myself and Dave once again for the Working Cult Film Club. How's it going? Check us out in the same room together.
How's it going? Yeah, that's mad. That I called round because I put my hand in a pan and it went a bit small. And Tony said I can figure something out for you. It's all right now.
But yeah, it's fine now. We've run it under some cold water.
Well, we figured we could do another chat over the interwebs again.
Yes.
But my house stinks and I didn't want to be in it, so we came to Tony's and invaded his tiny space.
So we're currently sat in the smallest room in anybody's house. That's at some point going to collapse inwards on me. There's that much shit in here.
There's a fella in is it Rambo 5 or is it 4? The one where he goes nuts on that Jeep at the end.
4.
Is it 4?
Yeah.
There's a fella in that who's tied in a cage and he can't get comfy. And that's Tony's room.
That is this room.
But it's lots to look at.
Oh yeah, it's there's plenty of eye can't there.
Yeah, Ramon is up there.
Yeah, Ramon.
As my mum used to call him. Ramon from Masters of the Universe.
But yeah, so we thought we'd do another Cult Selectah, where we will have a look at a couple of films that we really like, that people may have heard of, people might not have heard of. But it's just recommendations on a couple of things. We've got a bit of a theme on this one. And the theme be dragon.
Yes. He a bee dragon. Yeah, we figured I brought a few other films round, but it's naturally turned out that 2 of them feature dragons. And Tony's picked out a few of his dragon treats as well. And as you say, I think it's nice if we're talking about stuff that people will go, oh yeah, I like that one, that reminds me to watch it. But the real treat is mentioning something that somebody's not seen.
Yeah.
You know, and we forget that, like, we're 209 combined age, and if we like recommend the film and we assume everyone's seen it, then more fool us, you know, because there's whole generations of people who have not heard of like some of the treats we've seen, you know, and some of the dross.
Yeah, I always forget that we're like slap bang in that middle of. There's people older than us that don't know the stuff that we're into. There's people that's younger than us that don't know that stuff, you know what I mean, that we're into. It's like, I think we hit the sweet spot when it comes to this kind of stuff.
That's true, but there's an element of as well, because my dad will have recommended films to me, like, you know, and he'll say, watch The Quiet Man and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, you do get to see those things, but for whatever reason, younger generations are looking to the 80s and to the 90s.
Yeah.
There's always that retro thing that's always been like, it was the 70s when we were younger.
Yeah.
Everyone was into Stone Roses and everyone was putting flares on. But it just seems to have hung on a bit longer, the 80s thing, and the period of time that we were watching films, the love for that era seems to have carried on a bit longer than most
it has
interactive stuff, doesn't it?
It has, yeah, you know what I mean? Hence a lot of the guys I know through YouTube are big 80s. And I won't even say nostalgia junkies, because nostalgia means you're looking back at it. These guys are still living the 80s. You know what I mean? They're still fully endorsing it. And I can understand why. You know what I mean? If you look at modern film, and we've had these discussions before, that modern film is probably not aimed at us anymore. It's stuff that's coming out now is aimed at a different set of eyes, a different mindset, a different age range. There is some stuff that comes out. But
I think there is, but I honestly think, I got this with no offence to anyone who liked it, but that most recent Batman film, I had a bit of an epiphany watching that, thinking, I've actually seen this, and everything that went on in it, I thought it was admirable.
Yeah,
looked great, and it probably is a pretty solid Batman film for people who haven't seen other Batman films. But I've been reading the comic for 40 odd years, close to 50, and seen all the films, and so I just got to a point where I just thought, I've seen this, and I know what's going to happen because of the amount of dross that I've seen over the years.
Yeah,
and maybe I'm reaching a saturation point for stuff that I've seen, and there is a comfort in thinking, I've got Sunday off, I'll put Cannonball Run on again. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like putting a record on. You don't
Yeah, of
put a
course it
record
is.
on once, do you?
No, you play it
and
multiple
then
times.
You play it multiple times. If you're in the mood for something, you think, what's in my selection that I'm in the mood for? Cannonball Run 2.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that new stuff isn't coming out and still blowing my socks off. You know, there's been quite a few things I've enjoyed in recent years.
Yeah.
But when age catches up with you, you realise there's a comfort in going back to that stuff. And what's weird is the period that we're going back to seems to be a period that is popular pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
One insight I got earlier today, I forgot to tell you this. I was talking with Tomo about, talking with my wife who's from Japan about like 80s films and stuff like that. And you forget a lot of them were big all over the world.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a reason Back to the Future is
Yeah.
as popular as it is because everyone in Japan fell in love with Michael J. Fox as well.
Yeah.
So I was saying, oh yeah, and did you have Teen Wolf? He said yes. And did you have Secret of My Success? And that was it. There was a song on something we were watching, Captain Underpants, and it was it was Yellow, Oh Yeah, right? Which has been used a million times.
Yeah.
But my first memory of it was Secret of My Success.
Yeah.
Tomo said, I think it was called something else in Japan. I said, oh, right, what was it? She said it was dead popular because he's in it, you know, and everyone loves him. And we did the translation. It's called The Skyscrapers Are Rosy.
Yes.
What a nice title. Skyscrapers Are Rosy. The secret of my success is I'm living. But I love all that. It's nice having that voice to be able to tell you that. Oh, did you know Fast and Furious is called Wild Speed in Japan? Right. It makes all the films better. Because every time you go and watch one, you're going, watch Wild Speed 9. Wild Speed 9.
That's it.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, so anyway, we're banging on there. But it was just a little thing to say that it's nice to see that. Whereas I might turn down some of the offers of what my dad wants to recommend to me. It's nice to know there are people out there who say, well, I will listen to this old fella and see what it is he recommends and have a watch of it. And we hope that you do. There's some gems we've picked up, and some of them are dross, as always. Some of them are good.
Yes.
But you might find something in it, and it might lead you to make the next one, the next generation or something.
Yeah, it's especially when you start to look at franchises or themes or films set around certain things. There's always got to be ones that stand out that are extraordinarily good. Then there's always got to be ones that stand out to be extraordinarily bad. You know what I mean? That just covers everything. And especially 70s, 80s stuff where one good film came out in a particular genre, so they just flooded the market with it because everybody wanted a couple of dollars out of it. Yeah. And some of those films led on to be straight to video stuff that was really good. Yeah. Or stuff that went completely on the radar that no one ever saw.
I like the fact that my granddad always said, if you watch, there's probably something in every film you watch that you'll find like enjoyable. And I think, well, do I have to sit through loads of bits to do it? But he's kind of right. You have it in mind. Like there's the bit with the guy who's doing that wheelie on a bike in The Truth About Cats and Dogs. Not fussed about the rest of the film, but that bit's good. And you wonder why some of these films get made, sell, and endure.
Yeah.
And part of it is the worst film on earth is someone's favourite film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of the times all you have to do is make it about a particular subject and they will come in droves and see it. I was just about to tell you before, Live for Films had done a post earlier today on Facebook with a new film coming out with Mr. T from, what was his name?
Rampage Jackson.
Rampage Jackson and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, who I think was in The Tudors and a Dracula show on BBC.
Yeah, I know.
He's famous for a bit, and then he had a rough time, and he's making a comeback with what looks like one of the worst werewolf films I've ever seen in my life. Right, but just off the idea, I'll probably watch that.
Yeah,
because it's some special soldiers have been told to go to this island off Vietnam.
Right.
Some of their agents have disappeared. Why would they go there? Werewolves, right? And it's called something like. It's got like a bog standard name, and I'm just thinking, it's set in the war, and it's got werewolves in it. Why haven't you called it Warwolves? Right? You're wasting your life. You're wasting your life. thinking that film would have sold on that title alone.
Alone?
Right. People would want to make posters of a film called Warble.
Of course they would.
And they've called it something else. I can't remember what it even... See, I can't even remember what it was called. Rubbish.
Is this the one that Danny posted the link to on Facebook page?
He might have done, I don't know.
It showed that costume, that one of the worst Wolfman costumes I've ever seen.
It might be. It's got the big, stupid legs. You know, like everyone thinks it's brilliant to put backwards legs.
Backwards legs on stuff.
But on this one, they've forgotten to give him like in proportion arms. So they've got like normal chap arms, look like a pig and T-Rex, and these big legs, and they're jumping about. And I'm thinking, if you just keep saying to yourself "werewolves," I'd watch it. But they didn't call it that. Werewolves.
That's it.
Right. Yeah.
But back to dragons.
Anyway,
back to dragons.
Yeah.
So we've talked about 80s. We're talking about dragons. I might as well start it off with the mother of all dragon films that didn't get enough love back in the day.
Pete's Dragon the remake.
Pete's Dragon the remake. Yeah. The live action of Pete's Dragon. It's Dragon Slayer.
Of course. That's a well nice box. Isn't it?
It's good, isn't it? This is the 4K steelbook that came in from the US. You guys know I ain't a steelbook fan, but check the art out on that. I found them a bit pretentious, steelbooks, to be perfectly honest, for what they are. It's just a case that houses the film. It could that could have been done with the artwork, and that could have been it. It doesn't need to be encased in steel. But it's one of the nicest ones I've seen.
Now, you think about it, why steel? It could be a wood book.
It could be a wood book. It could be anything. Yeah, but no, they went with steel.
Didn't they not start with like Terminator 2 steel books?
Well, it was a DVD thing, wasn't it? Steel book. That's where they.
Do you remember that the guys at Cultplex in Manchester showed Terminator 2 recently?
Right.
And they had a poster designed for it and all that kind of stuff, but they got sent VHS double film.
Oh yes, I do remember that.
It was a big brush steel box.
I do remember it.
And it was one of the first things. Times I remember seeing that type of thing.
Still sells for decent money. That I think it's still
apparently someone found it, bought it, and gifted it to them.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. Good on to your Cultplex.
Don't worry, we'll be breaking in soon.
Yeah. But as far as dragon films go, obviously there've been dragon films prior to this one. But I remember seeing this one as a kid, and I'm blown away with sword and sorcery and fantasy films anyway. But I remember watching this one and being enthralled by it because the storyline's so good from the beginning. Because the beginning of the story is not about dragons at all. It's about an aging wizard that gets asked to go and sort a dragon problem out in a village that's hundreds of miles away.
Yeah.
And he basically says, listen, I'm too old to do this journey. I'm too old to do what you want me to do. I'll send my apprentice to come and do it for me.
He of the floating egg.
He of the floating egg, yeah. And he says, like, Master, I'm not ready to do it. And he says, basically, tough shit.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go and sort it because nobody else can.
Suck it up, egg.
Yeah, so hence they go on a bit of an adventure, on a bit of a quest, and they get to the village, and then all hell breaks loose. This was a Disney film that was incorporated with Paramount.
That's right, isn't it?
So Disney Paramount film that's for years and years in the UK, well, it's still never had a Blu-ray release. Just had some sketchy DVD that Disney put out, which I've got it up there. But when this came out in the US on 4K, I thought, I've got to get an upgrade. And one of the US guys graciously sent me this over, and it looks phenomenal. Chef Kiss. It looks amazing. Now, this is probably one of the best practical dragons you'll see in any film. Still.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And this film is what, 1980? 81, something right there. The practicals in this are mind-blowingly good. I wouldn't even like to think what they would cost in today's money to do something like that.
In fact, one of the ones I'm going to talk about looks like that.
Yes.
I mean, I don't mean just dragon-wise.
No, yeah.
It looked, the final effect on film, even though it's made in probably in a totally different way, looks like that, and it works. Well, it's dark. It's a weird creature design for the time.
It is.
At the time, everyone wanted to see Let's see it clearly.
Yeah, and a fairy tale dragon would have been more the way to go in a lot of this kind of stuff. This doesn't look like a fairy tale dragon.
Yeah, it goes straight to like animal, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Lizard
it's feral. It's fucked up. It's full of scars and gnarly fucking gashes all over it, and it's you can tell it's been sort of like born in battle. The thing's knackered and it's proper angry.
Yeah.
But the idea being the only way you can sort of tame the beast is give it a virgin from the village once a year, and that sort of like calms it down a little bit.
Calms a lot of people down.
Yeah, so hence the story runs along that plot. If you've never seen this, I would highly recommend it. It is the best practical dragon you'll ever see on camera. The CG at the end of the film, where you see the dragon in full size, still holds up pretty well. It's done. It's like a matte painting, which is, and I don't know if they're doing it. It looks like it's a glass overlay. They've painted it onto a glass overlay on the back. It's really clever how it's done for the time. That looks good, as well as the colours really popping at the end. And on this 4K, if you can get hold of this 4K of it, try and get it. If not, in the UK, the sketchy Blu-ray, the sketchy DVD will do. It is in widescreen. But yeah, Dragon Slayer. It's a brilliant film.
That reminds me of the fact that I'd forgotten until we were talking about it coming out then, and the advertising of it. We used to have a show, didn't we, in the UK, Disney Time, right? And it was basically it would come on a bank holiday, and you think about it, it wasn't a regular show, right? It would come on when kids were off.
Yeah, so Easter, Christmas, summer holidays,
after bank holidays. And they'd put Disney Time on, and it would be a compilation of clips from Disney films.
Yeah.
But what they'd do was they'd use it to advertise what was coming. So you'd get like an episode that had the black hole in it.
Yeah.
Or Dragon Slayer was in it.
Yeah.
You know, and all these like Disney films that were like, they're aimed at a younger audience, but the Dragon Slayer is probably not for Disney age, Jungle Book age kids, really.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know what the age certificate is on that, because obviously it's because it's American. There's no cert on it, but maybe a PG, maybe a 12 in the UK. That now.
Well, what was interesting was they'd throw that in with Fantasia clips and a bit from Jungle Book and whatever else, and I always found that fascinating, because things like that and Black Hole would get advertised on like Blue Peter.
Yeah.
Like straight like to the veins of like the youngest kids, and Black Hole's bloody, it's got proper murders in it.
Yeah.
You go to hell at the end and all sorts.
Yeah.
Psycho gets chopped to bits.
Yeah.
And Dragon Slayer's like not like a picnic either.
No, not at all. You see some charred bodies in there where the dragon's gone mad on them.
But weirdly in this country, you know, I suppose it's all tied in with the video, like Revolution and whatever else, but anything that like it's got dragon in, probably for kids. Here you go, Blue Peter. Have a look at this. Don't worry about beheadings and all that kind of stuff.
But yeah, it's it is a good one,
Yeah.
and I think it went under the radar massively back in the day. I mean, I don't think it did well for Disney because it was quite dark.
Let's face it, dragon films go under the radar.
Yeah.
They do
Massively.
for the longest time they were very old-fashioned, you know.
Yeah,
because the only dragon stories we got here were bloody St. George running around stabbing dragons.
Yeah,
that was
it. Again, there's a lot of 70s stuff, a lot of 80s stuff, and then the sort of like dragon stuff sort of disappears until
one of my selections, and it is The Reign of Fire.
Amazing film.
Yeah, I dig The Reign of Fire.
It's great.
The Reign of Fire is a bit, I keep calling it The Reign of Fire. It's not. That's like my auntie saying chicken is the chicken. But I dig it because it's like I like films that other people miss. Right.
Yeah.
It comes out on the pictures as a quick run. Not many people watch it. It's video or DVD or something, and does all right. And so they made the money back. Studio's happy. Somebody's like moved their career on a little bit, like that. And some people have got a film that they like on the shelf, but after a while, nobody remembers it was made.
Yeah.
Right. And Reign of Fire's rocking Christian Bale.
Yes.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
What's his name? It's not Gordon Kennedy. He was in Absolutely. What's his name? Bloody 300. Scottish fella, Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler, yeah.
He's in it, yeah. So you've got all these people in it, and it's how do you pitch that? How do you pitch this idea? Listen, it's England's been battered by dragons,
yeah,
and but there's these fellas who like dig themselves underground, and every so often they come out and they have a scrap with one and stuff like that, and then it's all about like how do they get on with each other, and one's a big American who smokes a cigar and drives a tank, and another one just wants to look after his mates. You think, how do you pitch that idea and have it turn out as good as it did? Because what stood out for me with Reign of Fire is, one, it's very Dragon Slayer-y in terms of how the dragons look and move and jump about, and they've done a real good job of saying this is what they are, this is how to describe these species, right, and how they work and all that stuff. It's essentially written by a 10-year-old, but with a bit of science in.
Yeah, it gives the lore to them, doesn't it? It's right at the beginning of the film. It gives you the lore of the dragon.
Yeah, but what you've got is like Hollywood heavyweights fucking chewing the scenery like you won't believe. Matthew McConaughey is a cartoon in this.
He's brilliant in it.
Cartoon, but it's great and it works because you've got good action set pieces.
Yeah.
And a very rare thing I find, because this I felt was very, very much a throwback to your 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
The video shop stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
It would have like blown everything out the water in a blockbuster.
Yeah.
This is exactly the type of thing you would find on the shelves of an 80s video store. And what it does, better than a lot of films in recent times, and at the time, is it's got a good ending.
It's got a solid ending.
Do you know what I mean? Because like
usually
you get, like, it happens in games as well. You go through the games and you say, what was your favourite bit? Oh, it was this middle bit, this fighting, this globe or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And usually that is the case, a showcase bit. But when you come to tie the story up and you think like, well, they've got to go and do this and get that dragon or whatever. I wonder if it's going to be any good. And it is. It's as good as, if not better than the rest of the film.
Yeah.
And it works. And, and I always find that rare in that type of film. Like, the ending's all right. It ties it up, but it's not quite as good. But it works. It really works for me. That.
Yeah.
So
it's the beginning I particularly like as well.
Yeah. The setup of
the setup of the dragons.
Of not just the characters. But the dragons as well. Yeah.
So the beginning of the film shows you work being done on an extension of the underground in London.
Yeah.
And they hit a void when they're tunnelling, don't they?
That's it. Yeah.
And then they're smelling sulphur, and it's raining inside this void, and they don't really know what it is. And the young kid, who turns out to be Christian Bale, lights a lighter, and it lights obviously the gas of the fluid that's coming out of this dormant dragon, and wakes it up.
His mum works there.
It's his mum who's the boss of the site, and it just levels everything. It just blows everything up. Then obviously wakes this dragon up, and then cut to sort of 20 years down the line. And it's pretty much an apocalyptic wasteland, isn't it?
It's all dragony.
Yeah, everything's been scorched, and that dragons have just taken over everything. It's good. It's really good.
It's an unapologetic creature feature, isn't it?
Yeah, but done tastefully.
And it does a nice line in post-apocalyptic things. It gives you a couple of cracking daft characters that were overacted.
Yeah.
It gives you a brilliant dragon, and it gives you a good ending. So it's top creature feature. One of my favourites.
Yeah, it gives you Matthew McConaughey going, you rip out the heart, you take down the beast.
Oh man, he's brilliant.
He's brilliant in it.
Yeah, he's like a Del Boy on steroids in the film, isn't he, with a big woolly top. Anyway, watch that, it's brilliant.
It is good.
Yeah.
We're going to look at a 70s classic next, which it goes down the line of, if you know the animated team behind Rankin and Bass, you'll know a lot of stuff that Rankin and Bass have done. They did a lot of the 80s cartoons that you know that me and Dave are fond of, and you'll see me rambling on this channel about stuff further down in videos about Rankin Bass shows. But they were also good at making feature-length films. So Lord of the Rings adaptation that they did in the 70s, Fire and Ice, Heavy Metal, they did loads. And
didn't they have these guys were putting stuff out before Disney were putting things onto video?
Yes.
So you'd get we went to France on a coach.
Yeah.
Like for a holiday when we were and your selection of videos very early on when videos first came out, animation was limited. So you couldn't get Jungle Book and you couldn't get 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
But you could get Lord of the Rings and all the Ralph Bakshi stuff and this type of thing. So the animation stuff that was out where people go, oh, that's drawn, that's probably for kids, whack that on.
Yeah.
While you're going to France and then everyone's having nightmares. But
yeah,
they were out before that, weren't they? That big wave of...
Yeah, a lot of it. I mean, so much so, they inspired Disney that much with what they was doing, that Disney saw what they did with their adaptation of Lord of the Rings in the 70s, with the whole rotoscoping stuff that was doing it at that particular time, that Disney wanted to do something down that line in the early 80s, hence Black Cauldron was made.
Yeah.
And then Disney hated the film and tried to disown it. But they wanted something pretty much like what was being done, but it turned out that they couldn't market it for the kind of audience they were looking at. But it really is good how it's done.
Yeah, and if we didn't have rotoscoping on Lord of the Rings, we wouldn't have that one shot that gets used every week of He-Man running like that past the camera and looking strangely more realistic than he does for the rest of the episode.
For sure. Yeah.
A bit of rotoscoping on a bodybuilder.
But the film in question is Flight of the Dragons. There is a Blu-ray of this, and I don't know why I don't own it on Blu-ray, but it's the DVD version. Amazing film, basically, where it starts off in real-time England. I think it's set in London, and wizards of the past and wizards of the future looking at Earth as it is now, and how it's been polluted and poisoned, and how people are becoming sort of disrespectful to the planet. And these wizards from different points, so like there's like a green wizard and a brown wizard, and there's wizards for different things. Their powers are slowly depleting, which brings down the powers of the dragons. But the black wizards, the dark wizards, and the dark dragons are rising up because of the pollution and the hate and all the rest of it. So it's quite an environmentally friendly film. When environmental issues weren't really a big deal. You know what I mean? It was.
And it's got him in.
Check it out.
Look at him. It's all right, mate. Calm down.
But the cool thing with this is the wizards ride the dragons. Well, there's a character at the beginning of this from real time who gets taken into the realm of the dragons and the wizards to sort of, they show him how the Earth's being killed, basically. It's really, really good. Animation style, it's exactly the same as any other Rankin Bass thing you would have seen, or Ralph Bakshi thing you would have seen.
If you compare it to the amount of animation we get now, it's obviously like an acquired taste now. If you're just discovering it, right now, I suppose. But at the time, these guys were putting a lot of stuff out.
They were probably
in comparison to.
Yeah, they were probably the best at it. To be fair.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Style-wise.
Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. Disney were obviously like the pinnacle in the heyday, but they didn't start tapping into the home market anywhere near.
No, as quick as these guys did.
Yeah.
And there is another film by these guys. Remember the film Wizards?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I think that's before this one. I think that's late 70s. But it's really good, and this tells a good story. It's got a meaning to the story. Like you mentioned before about He-Man, if you remember any of those cartoons, He-Man, Thundercats, even Inspector Gadget, they always had at the end of every episode, they always had that little thing.
The little moral thing.
Yeah, the moral tale. Basically, this is what this is all the way through. It's a moral tale of how you should be living your life and how you shouldn't be polluting the planet or being horrible to your neighbours.
I was always very impressed that Lionel took the time to tell me, watch yourself when you're crossing a road. I was thinking, you live on Thundera, mate. He didn't got any roads.
No, the thunder tank's just crumbling over everything.
Make sure you do your homework on time. Don't do crack. And watch when you go over the road. He-Man, you haven't got roads.
But yeah, Flight of the Dragons.
Yeah, Flight of the Dragons.
Really, really good.
Dragon
entertaining film.
recommendation.
Yes,
number
three. Again, this is one you can show your kids. The other two are a bit, you know what I mean? I would show them to older children. But this one's perfectly fine for younger kids. It is entertaining. It may bore them to tears, modern kids. I don't know. It may do. But it's quite charming. You know what I mean? So, yeah, check that one. Really, really good.
Yeah. Right. My second recommendation is slightly unique in that we're talking about dragons. It's got no dragons in it. It's not about dragons. It's got a fella in it called Dragon.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Because what I've done is I've grabbed a handful of films to come down here, and I thought, oh, well, we'll find some like running theme through all these. But how do you find a dragon in a film called Ping Pong? Ping Pong. Right. So Ping Pong is Ace. Right. It's a Japanese film. You've not seen this, have you?
No, I've never seen it.
Right. Okay. How did I find this? I can't remember. I went through a period of time of just watching whatever was coming along, and I saw, oh, it was Ain't It Cool News again.
All right.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier about how they'd spot stuff, and you'd find like the odd thing from a film festival that nobody else was bothering watching. And so there's Ping Pong, right? So it's a Japanese film about ping pong, right? And there's a fella in it called Dragon, and that's the only link we've got. But I like talking about ping pong, so I'm going to talk about ping pong. So it's about these two fellas here. And that's Pico and that's Smile, right? And the two best mates from school, and they've grown up together, and they play ping pong together,
right.
And they just have a dead good time playing ping pong. Pico is the gobby one,
right?
Smile is called Smile because he never smiles, right? He's silent all the time, and they love playing ping pong, right? So it doesn't follow like loads of their life, but they're in a particular point in school, in high school, where they're on the ping pong team, and everyone who plays ping pong in this film, they're all very stylized, right? They all come from different backgrounds. Now, I believe ping pong was a manga first, right?
Right.
Then I believe it was anime, and then they made this live action one. Now, I didn't know any of that until after I'd seen it.
Yeah.
But what's really, really obvious in the film is everyone is very stylized. They all have a particular pose they do before they play. Right, he always touches his bat to his head. He always does this particular thing. He always does this like superhero pose or whatever. And as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, this is like a cartoon. This is like, doesn't look like one. At times it does when they're getting into the action. They're jumping 20 feet in the air and hacking it in like ping pong ball stuff. But I liked it initially for the fact that it looked really cool. And it's this general story about these two mates playing ping pong together, and all the people they meet who play ping pong, right? But what it comes down to, it does two things that I think are interesting. One is it's basically a commentary on a hobby that anyone could be into.
Yeah.
But why everyone goes to it.
Right.
So instead of like it being like a Rocky where you want to win the fight and everything.
Yeah.
Rocky gets interesting when you know why he wants to win the fight.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same with like Creed even.
Yeah.
He likes to show off. He doesn't want to back down. It's interesting for Rocky because he's doing it like he gives up, but then in Rocky 2 he's had the son and the wife says, go on, kick his head in, and then it gets more interesting. So what's interesting is all these guys who play ping pong ferociously in this film all do it for a particular reason, and those reasons I find are quite unique. Like there's the obvious ones. One guy is like he wants to beat everyone. One guy does it for his country. One guy's doing it for someone else. One guy's doing it for himself. One guy's doing it because he's arrogant, whatever. But the two main characters, it does something with the two main characters, which ones they focus on that I've not seen in other films, which is, I'm not wanting to give it away, but the focus of who the film's about changes, and it does it a few times.
Right.
And I've not seen that. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of examples of it, but I found it really unique when I first saw it, thinking, I thought it was about him. And then you get to another point, you go, oh, wait a minute, right, and it does something else. But it's like really sort of like by the time it finishes, it's dead positive, right? And it's got a daft, brilliant, like mad Japanese electro soundtrack going on. And the fact that it's so cartoon booky at times, and the characters are so like obviously from a Japanese comic, you come away from it thinking I've seen something that we don't get here. that Hollywood doesn't put out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think there was another film, a documentary that came out about a year after, called Ping Pong, and nobody's ever pigging heard of this. Every time I was going into a shop, I ended up getting, I think this is the Region 1. I ended up buying another player just so I could play this. But you can get it, and since this first release, there's another one where it's just him on the front with just Pico jumping like that, and I found another copy for £1 somewhere.
Right.
So I'm sure there's a good release of it somewhere. Or
I like the bottom. I like the fact that slipcase loads from the bottom.
Yeah, what's nice, isn't it? Yeah. It's just a nice product and everything. But when you've seen the film and you realise all these guys are very particular characters, and they've all got this unique stance.
Yeah.
You come away from it thinking every one of them people, even though they're wearing the same thing, you could cosplay as them. And a fan would know what you're doing just by how you're touching your back to your head. Right. And of course, there is a guy in it called Dragon. And that is the only link to any of the other films we've been banging on about. But any opportunity I get to talk about Ping Pong and mention the fact that it's on my phone, the soundtrack, and that it gets played all the time in the car because it makes me go faster.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a good film.
Like I said, I'd never come across that before. I'd never heard of it. I mean, I think it was you that put me onto another Asian film years ago, Shaolin Soccer.
Oh yes.
I think it was you that put me onto that. So if it's anything close as fun as
totally different vibe.
Yeah.
It's actually played out as like a. It feels a bit like my wife always tells me about how TV works in Japan, and it's either the equivalent of the A-Team, where the program has been doing the same thing for 60 years.
Yeah.
And it's the same formula, and every week somebody does the same thing every week. It's either that or it's a young kid who's a bad guy at school, but he gets the opportunity to be a good guy for a minute, and he cries in the rain on a baseball field or something like that, going no, but the coach is there to help him. There just seems to be standards to Japanese drama and stuff like that, and it has elements of that. There are bits of it where you go, oh, I don't get what this is, but I always find that fascinating. It's like my mate Mike's into his what's it called, Scandi dramas and murder mysteries and all that kind of stuff, and then he's into his Korean cinema. And what you find is other cultures just treat drama differently, and we might look down on it at times, but most times they're doing something differently enough that it's fascinating, because like I say, they do this thing in Ping Pong where it flips between who is this film about, right? And by the time you get to the end, you realise why they've done it, and it's just this massively brilliant, uplifting ending. And you think, well, I knew it was going somewhere, but I didn't know it was going here, and that's what I like it for. It's just we were talking before about Bottle Rocket, another one which I'll probably talk about another week, but that's my favourite of Wes Anderson's films, because it has a character in it who's nothing like anything we've seen anywhere. He's a dickhead who everyone seems to want to help out, and that makes that film stand out from everything else around it. And Ping Pong's similar. I bet you could find 30 Ping Pongs, 200 Ping Pongs if you looked at Japanese cinema and anime and manga and stuff, and it's probably part of the reason why that's taken off in with kids here and the States reading the manga and watching anime.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it?
Because you just go in different directions. That way you're not following what Hollywood's expecting you to do, you know. But it's one of the better examples for me, and it's probably not for everyone, but I really like it. It's got a cracking soundtrack, it's got good characters, and takes you somewhere by the time you get to the
It's good, it's what you want, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's I'll definitely have to give it a whirl, because like I said, I'd never heard of it before. It's never even cropped up on my radar.
No. Well, like I say, I got overshadowed first of all by that Ping Pong documentary, and then there was another Hollywood one. Was it Balls of Fury?
Balls of Fury, with.
So whenever you searched for Ping Pong film, you were getting all this other stuff at the time, you know. Yeah,
who the hell was in that? Christopher Walken. Was it Christopher Walken in it? He played the bad guy in it.
Was it the other fellow who was in? I'm going to say Alien Covenant. Danny McBride.
Was it Danny McBride? Was it Danny McBride?
I don't know. Let's just say Ben Stiller was in it, because it probably was.
Yeah, it's a Ben Stiller film.
Something like that. Have you got another dragon?
So, from 3 fantastic dragon films to two of the worst Dragon films. And
Is
the
it
ball.
Double Dragon.
Double Dragon! Oh, I could have done Double Dragon instead of that.
Double Dragon.
We forgot that one.
Oh, we're
It's
going to do another episode called Double Dragon another time.
Yeah. Well, that could come into another theme we talked about yesterday. The double Dragon one.
Oh, yes,
So that could fit in there. But the two were, I mean, there's probably way worse than these two, but they're pretty much stinkers, and they both come from the same lineage.
Yeah.
And it is Dungeons and Dragons. What's that one called? It's just Dungeons and Dragons, that one, isn't it? And this one is Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves. Now, I've seen both of these at the cinema, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. So when this one came out, it was being quite hyped. It's got one of the Wayans brothers in it. It's got Jeremy Irons in it.
It was like when Eragon came out.
Eragon, you remember Eragon?
Eragon.
There was another one. There's another one. I don't own a copy of that. Yeah, that was written by like a 10-year-old, I think, wasn't it? And like directed by an 8-year-old. It's like
who'd seen Star Wars.
Yeah, it's an awful film.
Unbelievable, yeah, how much it just ripped it up.
But this, I was really excited for this when it came out, and I remember seeing the trailers for it and thinking,
you should be,
yeah,
because he's in it. There he is. Look at him.
You went to
I think he's the egg that was floating in Dragon's Lair and grew up.
Is he not Imhotep from the Mummy?
Yeah, he's in loads of things. He's just got that villain face.
Yeah. And I remember coming at the cinema after I watched this thinking, what the shit have I just watched? Because it's got it looks like in the middle, it looks like the princess from Neverending Story. You know what I mean?
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
And the middle part of the film makes no sense, like 0 sense. Yeah. And the special effects were okayish in it.
Except like you get towards the ending and all them fireballs and stuff.
Yeah, and it's like they run out of money.
Yeah.
But some of the practicals that they're doing this, the one where they're running the gauntlet, and you think, yeah, I could sort of get that. It feels like the realms of Dungeons and Dragons. And they throw an elf in there, and they throw a dwarf in there, and they throw a wizard in there, and then they think that's going to be okay. One of the Wayans brothers, I can never think which one of it is in this one. They were on like a massive hype train at this point, weren't they? All the Wayans brothers.
Yeah.
I think this is the one that was in
G.I. Joe 2.
G.I. Joe 2, yeah. And what's the Scream rip-off comedy?
Oh, Scary Movie.
Scary Movie. He's the one from Scary Movie and that. And the comedy value in this, there is more comedy value than it being deadly serious. So it sort of works and doesn't work at the same time, but the middle bit of the film just completely just destroys the film.
Yeah.
And then the ending, it ends, but then it comes back on again and then gives you a different ending, just as you're scratching your head. Just think, okay, is there going to be more of these films? Or no, there are more of these films, but none of them are direct sequels to this.
No. See, part of your problem is you've based the film around him.
Yes.
Right? Look at him. Right, he's not. I don't know who he is.
I can't think
he's been in some other stuff.
Yeah, he was in quite a bit, wasn't he?
Probably in Sequest DSV or something.
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
I don't know, but he looks like and acts like a sort of cheap TV actor.
Yeah.
And in the middle of that, you've got Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, you've got some
going
decent actors,
overboard. Right, going overboard. Is he really overacting?
Oh yeah, he hams it up to the nth degree.
But it's got a feeling of. Do you remember before we had movies from the Sci-Fi Channel?
Yeah.
It felt like a movie from just as the Sci-Fi Channel was starting out.
Yeah,
like, and we've made something ourselves. Oh, have you?
Yeah, and I don't actually know who released this. I mean, it's Entertainment in Video. It may have been them. I know they did the DVD release, but I'm not sure who produced it. But for some bizarre reason, there's like loads of bonus stuff on the disc as well of this. Like bizarrely filmed. Yeah, bizarrely filmed loads and loads of shit. And you're thinking, right, okay, it's like alternative endings, alternative beginnings, a dream sequence in it that was chopped out of it.
2 documentaries.
Yeah.
73 minutes.
Yeah, it's unreal. It's
about that. Oh, well, yeah. It's not good, is it?
No, it's not good. And all the sequels that off the back of it are even worse.
Yeah.
but none of them are direct sequels to that story. So none of them really make any sense. They're all just sort of standalone films.
No.
So you sort of think it can't get any worse than that. And the Dungeons and Dragons franchise has been pretty washed up as a film franchise for years. We love the original cartoon. Why we can't get our heads around why they just don't do something from the original cartoon, like roller coaster.
To Dungeons and Dragons Land.
Yeah, they get lost in the Middle Earth or where the hell they're going, and then that's it.
I mean, Star Trek Voyager did it.
Yeah.
Get lost in another place and try and get home.
Yeah. So it's dead easy. But no. A couple of years back, they would give us this. Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves. Now, they chose Chris Pine because I think nobody else was available at the time. And then they chose Michelle Rodriguez to play a dwarf, which it just doesn't work in any way, shape. But no, she's normal size. But she's supposed to be like dwarven.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
So that's why she meets the little fella.
Yeah, her husband.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers if you've not seen it. You're not missing much. But then there's a bird in it. Well, Chris Pine's character is the bird that does no birding. He's like the worst bird ever.
I think you hate this more than me. Right, I'm a bit more indifferent to it as opposed to like I like this and I'm going to defend it for liking it. I'll defend the one bit that really made me laugh where he plays the lute.
Yeah.
And he's actually a spell being generated by someone else, and the spell starts to fail, and the way it fails just really creeps me up. But I don't think I hate it as much as you do. But they do. That thing you mentioned them before, the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon characters appear in it just like briefly.
Yeah.
And you think, did you have the rights to do that? And if you did,
why did you use them?
Yeah. Why did you do this instead? You're pretty much like, if you made a Thundercats film, which fingers crossed we might actually be in, people are going to turn up because they remember it.
Yeah.
So why not do that?
Yeah, because people, when they realised the whole Easter egg thing, that those characters were in this film, people lost their fucking minds. That you know what I mean? That Ranger was going to be in here.
Yeah, make them the people who it's about.
And you get sort of 30 seconds right at the back end of the film, and they don't even introduce the characters. You just see them running the maze. And it's.
I think this is a good case in point for a bigger issue, right? Feel free to put that down. But that film is quite well liked, right? There's a lot of fans of it of recent times. And I am not the person who's going to put anyone down for liking a film. I like Cannonball Run and 1 and 2. So if somebody wants to like a film and it's their favourite film, or even if they like it a little bit, that's great, right? But this film does something not dissimilar to that, where it doesn't fulfil a potential that it's got.
Yeah.
And what it does is, because it uses the name, it gets elevated.
Yes.
In rankings around the world and so on. And the other thing that does that, which is horrible, which is how much does a film make?
Yeah.
Right. I hate that a film is judged on how it makes, because some of our favourite films never made a big.
Made nothing.
And why should that matter? You know, if you get in the filmmaker's vision, why should it matter if it made £1 billion? I know it goes back to make another film and it's a business. I get it, but you know, people make films for £1, you know, on their phone, and it might be better, have more value than that. So putting monetary value against it is one thing, but when a film is advertised as much as that, every bus on earth had Chris Pine on the side of it, and that logo and whatever else. It can't fail to make money, and it can't fail to be seen by people and recognise that it's on the pictures now. Should we go to the pictures now and we'll watch it now? Yeah. Right. And it's indicative of quite a few films that have done that. Your Aquamans, your Justice League, a few films that have been elevated to what people think are great cinema, simply because the advertising is relentless. Yeah. So again, somebody loves that film and they think it's great. It's fair play to you. I enjoyed a fair amount of it. I also forgot a fair amount of it, so it can't be that brilliant. And that happens with a lot of films. But it's very much of a current practice where the company throw as much at the market as they do on making the film, and then because they want to make that money back. Now I don't know whether they do it because they believe in it or they do it because they're scared they're going to lose money on it. But as far as I'm aware, plastering stuff on buses and every billboard going works.
Yeah, of course it does.
It gets them to the cinema and they make that money back.
They must have spent millions on PR on this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 'cause they're all doing the interviews. There's posters everywhere, and you know it's they've spent money on it because there's some places where, like Manchester and Wigan and Liverpool, where they haven't changed the poster since bloody Phone Booth. With what's his name? You know, Colin Farrell. There's still Phone Booth posters in Wigan, right? And yet, like, when they put something new up, you know they've chucked money at it. Yeah. And they want that money back somehow. So
yeah, I mean, what this one does as well, what that one does, what that one doesn't.
That one.
Yeah, this one is probably more true to the franchise of Dungeons and Dragons than that one is, because if you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, if you've played the role-playing game, if you've played, read any of the books, whatever, played any of the video games, you'll know stuff that pops up in these. The likes of they travel to Daggerdale, and there's certain weapons that pop up in the thing, and there's certain
in the maze.
And this is all stuff through the franchise of Dungeons and Dragons, and I get that it plays a lot of homage to the fans. But if you're just a regular cinema goer who's going to watch this, when they goes, we're going to Daggerdale, and three people at front go, everybody else is going, fuck no, you know what I mean?
We'll probably talk about this before, but my older brother is not as stupid about films as I am. I'm a younger brother too. He's very similar to us. But my older brother, I hold him up as the measure as to whether a film has been successful in catching the attention of the general audience, right? Because you put a Star Wars film out, I'll watch it no matter what it is. You write Star Wars on a nettle, I'll watch it for 9 hours, right? But you put a Star Wars film out that isn't good, and our Michael spot it, because he's not wasting his time with stuff like that. I remember taking him to Transformers 2 in IMAX, and I said, what do you think, Mike? And I don't think I'd been to the pictures with him since E.T., right? And I said, what do you think of that? And I was excited because I'd enjoyed the first one. I took him to 2 thinking it was going to be as good. And we come out and he went, I'm never going to the pictures with you again. I said, what? Can you not review it better than that? He said, it's like somebody's just torn a load of cans up in front of my face for 2.5 hours. He says, don't ever invite me again. And Mike he doesn't care about Optimus Prime because he didn't play with Optimus Prime as a kid. He's not invested in characters that he already loves. You don't need to sell me on a Star Wars film or a Transformers film. I'm going anyway, shit or not, I'm going. And he needs to be entertained by a film. He needs to have a beginning, a middle, an end, some fun characters, things happen, and it's fun. And you're ending and out, you go and you've paid your money and you feel like you've got your money's worth. And he's the litmus test, I think, for the general audience. And I don't know his opinion on this, and I wouldn't go towards guessing it. But this is the type of film you need to catch with the general audience. Yeah. And the way you catch the general audience is to smother them in posters, isn't it? It is. I mean, because we're going to go anyway, because we want to see Ranger with his bow, and we want to see the Magician, and we want to see Uni. Yeah. Which is my only impression I've ever been able to do, by the way. Right. So we want to see these guys, right? But our Mike wants to go to be entertained by a film, right? And if he was to go and see that, I'm not sure how much he'd be, because I'm not a big follower of Dungeons and Dragons either. Other than cartoon was great. Yeah. I'm aware of it, but I don't follow it. It's not my thing. So I come out of that forgetting a lot, and thinking, well, where was that bit in the story? The one where he digs the grave and gets to get the fella out. Well, why did he do that in the first place? And suddenly the cohesion of remembering the story has gone. Yeah. And whereas I come out of a film like Ping Pong and I remember everything about it because like you got the characters right, and somebody going into that blind, which was me, can follow it. And that's an example of one that loses someone like Carmine. Yeah, it lost me for a while when we watched it at cinemas, and it definitely lost Janine. Yeah,
She had no interest in it whatsoever.
She's a big fan of like Labyrinth. And
Yeah. So there's other fancy films that she's into. But this one, no, I mean, for anybody that's not seen it, no spoilers or anything, but it's a very weak ending. There's so much build and so much hype, and then the ending just goes. It's like it's really watery, the ending. But I'm just reading on the back now, and it says on the back, the movie the game deserves, Den of Geek.
Den of Geek.
Are they even still a fucking thing anymore? Den of Geek. You know what I mean? It's like, but no, even the DVD release, and I imagine the Blu-ray's the same. There's nothing on it. Deleted and extended scenes and a gag reel as extras. But yeah, the shit one of the two gets 4 days. 4 days
73 minutes.
4 days worth of extras on it.
Here's 10 minutes with the designer of the shoes of Jeremy Irons. Dungeons and Dragons. Oh man.
So to sum up our dragon related topic.
Our review of dragons. Watch some of them. I don't take that one down.
So don't bother with that one.
Watch some of them.
Watch those ones.
Yeah.
So
watch in order. Watch that.
Rain of Fire.
Then that. Then that.
Yeah. Then Ping Pong.
Ping Pong, because it's got nothing to do with.
It's got nothing to do with dragons.
Yeah.
But no, I mean all these are entertaining.
Yeah.
All these are definitely worth your while. But there is a big gap between dragon films. So you get lots in the 80s and then bugger all really in the 90s. I can't think of any dragon films in the 90s.
Well, I think Eragon was one, was it? Or was that 2000?
Early 2000s, I think.
Yeah, we've probably missed 5 million dragon films.
Yeah, there's probably other ones lying around in here that I've not seen.
Yeah,
but...
what do you expect? We're not professionals. We just made this up tonight.
Yeah.
But there's 4 there you can watch, and there's 2 you should ignore.
Yeah.
And then again, what have I just said?
It's horses for courses.
I'm not even listening to myself. If you watch them and you like them, then fair play to you and good on you. And just don't ever talk to me again. Only joking. Or am I?
So at the hour mark now, ladies and gentlemen, we will call it an evening on
we will that.
The old dragon themes.
Yeah, that was us being the Cult Selectah.
Cult Selectah! And until the next episode, everybody.
Yeah. Keep it cult.
Keep it cult.